Vote counting in key states is underway in the United States. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden took a narrow lead over President Donald Trump in the battleground states of Georgia early today, edging closer to winning the White House in a nail-biting contest as a handful of undecided states continue to count votes. U.S. President Donald Trump's campaign has filed a lawsuit in the state of Nevada after taking similar legal action in other key battleground states. Trump has repeatedly alleged electoral fraud and irregularities in states that Democrat candidate Joe Biden is leading. Biden has a substantial lead in the national poll as vote counting continues. Trump and Biden each need 270 or more college votes to make it to the White House. All right, let's catch up then with our foreign editor at SABC News, Sophie Mokoena. Very good afternoon to you, Sophie. I do know you're watching very closely at this time the elections as we kind of edge closer to knowing what this picture is going to look like in the U.S. Biden at 243, Trump at 213, 270 needed by each man to win. Where are we currently?
The big story is Joe Biden leading in Georgia, and many people are saying this is an indication that he's doing very well towards the end. And of course, we know that Pennsylvania is another area or state where many people are saying he is going to do very well based on the ballots that are supposed to be counted today, this morning in the United States of America, particularly looking at an area, Philadelphia, where you have many African Americans and strong support for the Democrats. And there's fear that, particularly from the Donald Trump's camp, that he is going to do very well later today in Philadelphia. But we know that Donald Trump has already announced that he is going to mount many court challenges, challenging the election. The funny thing is that he wants to challenge areas where you have African American votes, the minority votes, because these are the people who have delivered for Joe Biden. But areas where he has got support, he's not challenging those areas. The second issue is we are now close to a situation where the person who is going to have a key to the White House, as you can see the White House in the background there, will soon be announced.
Now, Sophie, one of the things that, when you're talking about challenging, of course, we've heard Trump kind of demanding that votes be stopped, or rather that that we should stop counting. I mean, it all seemed quite devoid of any logic, but what was he necessarily relying on when he demanded that vote counting be stopped? I'm just thinking about it from an African perspective, Sophie, that if this was happening in Africa, we'd have election observers really up in arms at this time, and it does seem that he's not respecting the election process.
Well, I just want to make an example of Kenya. I covered elections in Kenya, and at that time there was some sort of tension in that country where the opposition leader Raila Odinga was contesting elections, and the then former president of the Republic of South Africa, who was who was leading the observer mission for the Commonwealth, indicated that he must go to court, and he did just that, and the court took a decision to overturn the elections, and there was a rerun. Uhuru Kenyatta then wanted to resist the outcome of the Supreme Court in Kenya, but Mbeki was able to tell him that as a leader he has to defend the constitution and the processes in that country based on the electoral law. And therefore we saw a second run. On the second run, when it was clear that Uhuru again is emerging as a leader, Raila Odinga with his people went to the election center to try and disrupt. I mean, he was throwing tantrums, typical of Trump, almost the same shenanigans and posture. And there was a lot of noise around the world, people supporting, of course, Raila Odinga, many of them. But this time around, The continent is very quiet. Europe is very quiet. Asia is very quiet. South America is very quiet. The ambassadors around the continent, every time there's a standoff or there's some issues on election processes on the continent, they are quick to rebuke and also issue statements. I just want to make another example recently on Tanzania. The very same embassy of the United States of America in Tanzania issued a statement. What's happening in Zimbabwe? The embassy of Zimbabwe issued a statement. In Ivory Coast, the U.S. embassy was quick to issue a statement. Therefore, the question is, the United States of America has projected itself as this modern country and the country with a mature democracy. And now what's happening there, people are saying, aha, you are the same.
I wonder, while we're still on that topic, is there at this time, and as you watch this all unfolding, and we know you've covered many elections on the continent, if you look at what's happening currently, are there fears, or do you fear that there might be some kind of violence? I mean, I was listening online and watching online, and they were saying that, you know, there were some of Trump's supporters had come out, and some of them had in fact been armed. They were going to some of the voting stations, and of course they wanted vote counting to be stopped. Should there be fears that after the results have been called out, and it's not, let's say it's not in Trump's favor, that we might have a situation that we haven't seen really in the US, where we see really a lot of violence erupting, because it does seem that some of Trump's messaging has been really a little bit violent and kind of poking at wanting some sort of violence should things not go his way.
Buy leadership. You can't buy leadership. At this critical moment, you need very sober leaders. And unfortunately, the incumbent, the current president of the United States of America, the commander-in-chief, is not really leading by example. When counting started, he came out almost declaring himself a winner. And that led to a situation where his supporters took to the streets. And clearly, it was a provocation. And now again, yesterday, Joe Biden came out and spoke like a statesman, calling for calm, focusing on coronavirus and the economy at the start of his speech, speaking like someone who understands that what is critical is to address the challenges facing the United States of America. 2 hours after, President Trump came out. He didn't talk about the situation, the plight of the people, at the, on the day where the numbers were shocking. COVID-19 positive cases were shocking. The economy, the fear, the anxiety. He didn't talk about that. It was all about him and him winning elections. He didn't even talk about Mike Pence, whether Mike Pence is part of what he's intending to do. Unlike Joe Biden, he started by acknowledging that they are now working together with Kamala Harris. And therefore, it speaks to leadership at a critical time. But remember, Donald Trump is not a politician. Joe Biden is a shrewd, veteran politician from childhood, even being in the presidency as the VP. And therefore, he demonstrated leadership. And I was saying, the United States of America is very lucky. Should Joe Biden win elections and the current president try not to cooperate in terms of handing over, there's no crisis. He can step in in January and run with this thing immediately. He's got experience. He was second in charge in the United States of America. But yeah, and then the scenes you saw outside the counting stations, it was shocking. I mean, people were shocked, particularly the Americans who are not used to this. The right-wing supporters with guns, It was shocking. Last night, they arrested a number of people. They were driving in a Hummer. Apparently, allegations are that they were on their way to a counting or a center where they are collecting all the information in terms of the results in Pennsylvania, when they realized that the numbers are not adding up. Fortunately, the security and the intelligence services in the United States of America, they were both able to deal with that eventuality. People were arrested. Secondly, the FBI took a decision immediately to dispatch a team to go and give protection to Joe Biden. And therefore, I think to the credit of the security establishment in the United States of America, particularly the intelligence services, they are able to be able to detect where you might experience danger.
Sophie, I'm obviously preempting, but how should we on the African continent really view a Biden presidency? I mean, I've been seeing this video that's gone viral, and I know that people were showing it quite a bit during the time that Biden was vice president to Obama. That video where he's really rebuking apartheid back in the day when many people weren't necessarily vocally, especially white males, vocally speaking out against apartheid. A very interesting clip there to watch, and how passionately he spoke about how he detests apartheid and why it should be outlawed. How should we on the African continent, giving, if we pay attention to that, but just in general, really see a Joe Biden presidency? And maybe you can also, for us, zoom into South Africa specifically.
Well, let me start in the north. In the north, I think many countries in the north are going to have challenges, or they are not so happy with Donald Trump leaving office. Countries such as Egypt, because he's a friend to Egypt, but also Sudan. Recently, we saw Sudan reaching out to America, and of course, President Trump in particular, taking a decision to remove some of the sanctions against Sudan, and also almost manipulating Sudan to agree to a peace process with Israel, and an issue that has led to tension between Sudan and, of course, Palestine, almost using Africa to stamp his authority in the Middle East and also protecting Israel. And therefore, you'll find that situation. When you come to West Africa in particular, a country like Nigeria, now recently, Nigeria's candidature to the World Trade Organization, a Nigerian, but also a person who has got an American citizenship, the very same United States of America, and Donald Trump himself blocked the nomination of Dr. Ngozi to be the director of the WTO World Trade Organization because he wanted someone from South Korea. Therefore, West Africa, it's up to them to really perhaps think that maybe a person like Joe Biden might be much better, because with the Democrats, the tone, the approach is more calm and diplomatic, even though America will remain America. But with the Republicans under Donald Trump, it was too robust and too careless. You come to the East, countries such as Kenya, it is under President Barack Obama, and Joe Biden was part of that office, the presidency, where Kenya had strong relations with United States of America because of Kenya being an ancestral land of Barack Obama. And therefore, I think they will prefer Joe Biden, because they know it will be a continuation of what Barack Obama had started. When you come to the southern part, we, South Africa, we always don't have a problem, because we know how to deal with challenges at multilateral level. Of course, there is a strong relations between the Democrats post-1994, based on the fact that former President Nelson Mandela had a very cordial relationship with Bill Clinton, and Al Gore at that time had a very strong relationship with former President Mbeki, who was the deputy president. And then you come to Bush. It was the Republicans, but still Mbeki was able to handle issues diplomatically and in a very professional way. But at times it was a heated exchange. You'd recall during the fight when Mbeki was firm on the fact that there are no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and therefore saying to Bush, let us not go to Iraq. I have sent scientists, I've sent a delegation. There are no weapons of mass destruction. Tony Blair is misleading you. But we look at the health programs. You know that it was under President W. Bush where the issue of HIV and AIDS was taken seriously by his administration in terms of helping South Africa. To date, that program is continuing. Then you come to Barack Obama. Very, very nice relationship because of Mandela also. And it was under President Jacob Zuma, very cordial relationship. But you had a situation of Libya. And Mbeki, as an elder on the continent, was very vocal, and he really took Barack Obama head on. But Zuma had to be diplomatic because he was a sitting head of state. And now with Donald Trump, relations are not so cordial. You know the tension around the issue of land. You know the tension around the so-called murder of farmers. You know very well President Cyril Ramaphosa had to set the record straight in terms of the land policy and what government was doing to address crime in general in South Africa. Therefore, yeah, we'll see. And I think Joe Biden, who was part of Barack Obama's administration, he may approach things differently for us in the South. Secondly, it was in 1997 where he was the only white congressperson who joined the Black Caucus when they visited South Africa, getting a first-hand information about atrocities of apartheid. And when he went back in the Senate, delivering that powerful, powerful message, calling on the South African government then and saying to his country, let's isolate the United States of America. Your policy around South Africa cannot be commended. And after that, he became the deputy president, the vice president. He visited South Africa in 2010. He held talks with our former deputy president, then the former president, Kgalema Motlanthe, at the union buildings. But also when the former deputy president, Kgalema Motlanthe, visited Washington, they also met there. But when he was in South Africa in 2010, he didn't only meet those who were in government. He also visited former President Mbeki at his house in Houghton. And you can see that he understands South Africa.
All right, Sophie Mokoena, thank you as always. That's a foreign editor here at SABC News. Many thanks. No doubt we'll be catching up with you as the day progresses, as we anxiously sort of wait for Georgia to be called. Thank you, Sophie.